Hello, everybody. Hope you're all doing good during this weird coronavirus time and everything.
Mhm.
I'm Andrew, and I'm joined by Emma, my lovely compatriot here. And today we're going to do the album Ocean Rain by the band Echo and the Bunnymen. If you can believe it, we've actually had some recording troubles beforehand for the last two times. We've actually tried to record two other podcasts, and they mostly work pretty good, but they're just like stuck on my computer and the charge is being all weird, and there's a bunch of other technical problems with it. So I'm just trying to record on my phone right now. And the good news is that the audio seems to be coming through a lot clearer. We're trying to use like a podcasting app called Anchor. We're seeing how that's going. So I apologize if there's any like kind of slightly basic editing. Where it might just be the audio. I don't know if I can include any like video segments like I usually want to, but anyway, so we've been trying to like listen to this album over, trying to get a fresh picture in our minds. And I thought I'd
Yeah.
give like a little description of the band beforehand. Is that okay, Emma?
Yeah,
I
go right on
did
ahead.
it with Depeche Mode, so I thought it might for anyone that like is interested in the band, but maybe they don't know them too well. I thought it might help. So um, they started in 1978 in Liverpool, which is the same home as like the Beatles, and also kind of like a lot of like sea stuff, and like it's like a harbor kind of town, so it kind of has that reputation. And the main lineup is Ian McCulloch on vocals and rhythm guitar, Will Sargent on lead guitar, Les Pattinson on bass, and that was the lineup for I think roughly like a year and a half, and then they toured and did some like gigs with a drum machine, and then they added Pete Freitas on drums in 1980 for their debut album Crocodiles. And interestingly, if you want to listen to them before that, there's a couple like live concert recordings on YouTube, and there's a Peel session, which is probably the best quality audio. And I think 1979. So that's a cool kind of like interesting time capsule of the sound of that kind of era. So then they had their album Crocodiles, Heaven Up Here, and Porcupine, and we're reviewing arguably their best well-known album, Ocean Rain. Um, oh yeah, when I was talking about the members before, I was going to note that Pete was the only one that wasn't born in England originally. I don't know if you know this, Emma, but he was born in Trinidad and Tobago, which I believe is in Central America. And then they moved over to his family moved over to England in the 70s, and then they he met up with Will and Les and Ian and all that. So I thought that was
Mm.
kind of fascinating. Um, so there have been different lineup changes throughout the years of the band. Pete unfortunately died from a motorcycle accident in '89, and then they replaced Ian for a little while. And I think all the other members were there. So Les was there playing bass, and Will was playing guitar. But I think Ian was happier doing his solo stuff, so they used the vocalist Noel Burke, and I think he was on Reverberation, and that was the only album he was on. But he was with the band for a little while. And me and Emma were actually like listening to like one of the songs the other day, and I think I've listened to like a good two or three tracks, and I went in kind of with a cynical mind point because I like Ian a lot, but he does a good job. He's a pretty confident
Mm.
vocalist. So if you're interested in that era, feel free to listen. I think that if you want to listen to like pre kind of like golden era Echo and the Bunnymen, or sorry, post like golden era, so but like 80 to like 86 or 87, like Echo and the Bunnymen. Their like late 90s albums are really good and like early 2000s, and they're still pretty good nowadays if you want to see them live. So since 96, Ian McCulloch has rejoined them, and they've just been like touring and like coming out with different albums since then. Um, so some of their musical influences are David Bowie, which you can probably see if you like look at kind of just the way Ian kind of like sings and all that. And
Mm.
there's a musician called Scott Walker that they like. There's the Velvet Underground from New York, Television, The Doors. So that kind of comes through in like a lot of their like psychedelic kind of sound. They if you ever see them live, they kind of like have a couple of covers of like kind of like 60s bands. They do a cover of like Paint It Black and like quite a few Doors covers. They like covering a song called Soul Kitchen. They like People Are Strange, which they did for a movie soundtrack. Then they have the Clash, and then kind of like other punk bands who kind of like inform their more like energetic sound. So, do you have any thoughts before we? Sorry, I've been talking the whole time. I haven't let Emma get any words in. But do you have any thoughts beforehand on like your overall thoughts of the album, Emma? And like, what are your other favorite like Bunnymen albums? Is there any that you like?
Uh, well, besides Ocean Rain, my other favorite album by the Bunnymen is definitely Heaven Up Here. Um,
Okay,
yeah,
so I can agreement on that.
yeah, yeah. I haven't really dove much into their other ones. I know Porcupine a little bit. Well, I know a fair bit of Crocodiles too, but yeah, I think along with like Ocean Rain and Heaven Up Here, they're my two favorite Bunnymen albums. So yeah,
I got you. You probably know a fair like big chunk of their singles too, right? Just like kind of like being
yeah,
released,
okay.
like
Mhm.
Silver from this album, and just like little kind of like bits. I know most probably like an early single like Rescue, and then like I think you like know most of their kind of like singles throughout the years, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that he probably into them that way. Yeah, I'd say. I was gonna note before we got into this, I noticed like a strange kind of like divide in like the Bunnyman fandom. There's people that like all their albums from the '80s, and then there's people that like the albums like Crocodiles, Heaven Up Here, and Porcupine, and then they think there's kind of like a switch and like a different kind of mood, and they don't really like Ocean Rain and
Mhm.
the self-titled album as much. But I would argue that I think it's because more like the orchestration and like the more like lush kind of production, and it's noticeably like lighter toned like an album rather than like say like their debut or like Heaven Up Here. But I think it's I don't know if it's arguably their like best period, but as far as like good,
Mhm.
I think it's certainly good music and everything, and I don't think you should dismiss like this album or their self-titled album. I think there's really good stuff in here, and I think that
Yeah.
like the heavy kind of like orchestration and like string arrangements in this album, uh, they're like self-titled Echo and the Bunnymen from '87 is good for like all the like different kind of like synthesizer and like keyboards that they eventually like like trying to think of the word I guess agreed to or like they decided to like delve into. So I'll see if I
Mhm.
can go into like a little bit of the overview on the album. So it's a fourth studio album by them. It was released on May 4th, 1984. I didn't know that they've been working on the material for so long. So it came out on in May 1984, but they were like creating the songs like mostly through like 1983 right after Porcupine.
Mhm.
So this is kind of like a big period of like work from for the band. They've almost like they didn't really have like a ton of breaks. So like they had like the first album, second album, and then they were really releasing like one a year for a little while. So they pretty like a big workflow. So that I thought this was kind of interesting too. So it reached number 4 on the UK album charts, but only number 87 in the United States Billboard
Ooh.
200. So they've always been kind of a band like that. Like they have like kind of like cult kind of songs, but they're still largely like way more popular in the UK. I feel like they're more well known over there. But
Mm,
it's
yeah.
it's interesting to see which like UK bands kind of like break through and which ones don't. I guess certain like bands have like a very English kind of like sentimentality and like kind of like origin, so they don't really cross over very well. So like bands like Duran Duran did really great. Like can you think of any other like British Invasion like kind of like '80s bands that did really well in the States, Emma? I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I guess
Uh,
Depeche Mode. They're kind of
yeah,
like
yeah.
they had some good luck in the States, so that's another band.
Mm,
Um,
mhm.
there's probably some more that I just
Uh,
can't think of off the top of my head. Like Talking Heads, they had quite a big success. Oh, sorry, they're an American band. My bad. I'm trying to think of some more British bands here. Well, I'll
mm,
brainstorm on that, and if you guys can think of any, let me know. But some of the bands that like just like kind of like scraped the chart success were like OMD. So they had like the songs in Pretty in Pink and like some like other. So they had like So in Love and like If You Leave and like Enola Gay
mm,
and like songs that just were like scratching like the kind of like the top 20 and like the top 50 and everything like that, but not enough that like people knew who they were. Me and Evan have been both like listening to like XTC over the last kind of like
mm,
few months, and they're kind of another band that like it's they have like some breakthrough hits, but like they're still very English, and like I think for like a lot of other audiences, they don't really get that sound. I think a lot of like Europeans, they seem to be more into like kind of like artsy or like slightly unusual music. Um, but I think I know one. The Cure, they had quite a bit of success in America after like the later half of the '80s. I know they got kind of big with like '83 with like Let's Go to Bed and like The Walk and like songs like that and Love Cats. And then they had better luck with like Friday I'm in Love, and then they became quite a big like chart band. So it's interesting to see what bands have like make it and which bands like don't in terms of like being popular for a little while.
mhm.
um, but they certainly influenced like a lot of kind of like other like indie bands today. Like I know Arcade Fire, they like Echo and Bunnymen quite a bit. I think Interpol like named them as like an influence. So they still kind of like inspire like 2000s and like 2010 bands.
Mm.
One thing I didn't know when I was researching this album a little bit, I thought it was just like certain session musicians they brought in for like the string instruments, but they actually recorded with a 35-piece orchestra in Paris. And when I learned that they recorded in like France and like Paris specifically, I can see that in their kind of like sound. Paris seems like a very like romantic and kind of like seaside kind of country. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I can kind of like see that going into the music of the album. So
Mm.
I didn't know this too. So when the album came out, it had like mixed reviews. So some people liked it, and some people didn't. I thought people just kind of like liked the sound immediately, but I guess it took a little while to like grow on people. And so it released as an LP and a cassette in May of '84. And then following the poor reception of their third album, like critically, the band started like delving into like the kind of sound that they would in this album. So like Never Stop had like a lot of like string arrangements in it, and like just like congas and marimbas and like violins and like other instruments that they were kind of like hesitant to use before. And so it just kind of like was a nice change of pace for them.
Hmm.
And also even though Never Stop is more similar to like the stuff in this album, like I can imagine that being on Ocean Rain. I think Back of Love is another song that like kind of is similar to the production as this album, and also the one of the last songs from Porcupine called "In Bluer Skies." That kind of sounds like a bit like Ocean Rainy. So Porcupine's
Mm.
kind of like a mix of their like kind of like old guitar driven and like just like simple rock sound, and then their like kind of like orchestral like more fleshed out sound. So so Will Sargent said, so from an interview quote, we wanted to make something conceptual with less orchestration, not Medavini, which I think is a Italian composer, but something with a twist. It's all pretty dark. Throne of Crowns is based on an Eastern scale, so kind of like Indian, kind of like Middle Eastern music style, and then the whole mood is very windswept. So European pirates, a bit Ben Gunn, dark and stormy, battering rain, all that. During recording, DeFreitas used xylophones, glockenspiels, in addition to his usual production. Bass player Les Pattinson used an old reverb machine at Des Dames and Sargent Studio on My Kingdom, and they played using a Washburn acoustic guitar, which is distorted through a Valve radio. So lots of cool kind of like production stuff on this album. So now that we're into the actual music, what do you think of the first track, Silver, Emma?
Silver. I think this track in particular is a good introduction for like the entire album.
That's funny.
Uh,
Thing.
hmm?
That's funny because I said the same thing.
Oh yeah.
Go on there.
Um, I really like how it has like a elegant and sort of like rich melody throughout the whole track with like a good amount of, like you said, orchestral sounds in it. Um, I guess I was also like having some trouble trying to figure out like a certain meaning for the song, but I did read somewhere that someone tried to like explain it in their own perspective as like the song expressing something like that rare moment when someone other than yourself is like being able to free and maybe like redeem us, like when Ian said in the song with the lyrics like "My hands untied," so that we can see a world that's true through our clean eyes, and the burning lips thing could also give like an image of passion that's eager to be shared, I guess.
I feel you.
So,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
a fair interpretation.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I was gonna say it's a really good opener and kind of like indicative of like all the stuff that's gonna be on the rest of the album. So like uh orchestral stuff, string arrangements, the kind of interesting. I think that like Ian will play an acoustic guitar and then Leslie like gives him like electric elements with his guitar. So it's a nice kind of like counterbalance. And then
Hmm.
also compared to just their other opening songs in their album, so like Silver compared to like The Cutter and Going Up from Crocodiles and Show of Strength from Heaven Up Here. They're just it's a lot more lighthearted, you know, than like those kind of like
Yeah.
so it's they're both energetic like kind of tones, but like this is like much more kind of like romantic and kind of like more I don't mean this in a bad
Mhm.
way, but more like poppy and like more accessible a little bit. So you
Yeah.
know, just kind of interesting. But yeah, good stuff. I think Ian has some really good vocals in this song. He's good at having like kind of like up and down, kind of like swinging vocals. And I thought whenever I listened to him, he kind of reminds me a lot of like Patti Smith, who even though I don't know super well, her vocals are very like they're not like perfect. She'll like her voice will crack and like it'll like waver up and down.
Mm.
But she just incorporates that into her performance, kind of like Ian does. Like his vocals aren't the same all the time. They're not really they don't always hit the mark, but he just like keeps going. So it's kind of refreshing. It doesn't really sound perfect every time, which is nice.
Mm.
And kind of reminds me a little bit of like Michael from R.E.M. too, kind of like the same kind of like all over the place
Mm.
vocals. It's not like it's like instead of like kind of like hitting it like it's like you know, kind of like vibrating a little bit. It's
Yeah.
nice. It's a cool vibe. So next we got Nocturnal Me, and I guess I'll start with this one because you did the last one. So I think it's got a really great like sinister vibe with the building momentum and everything with the guitar and like the strings. And if there's
Yeah.
any kind of like defense for like the string instruments in the songs, it's like this song, The Killing Moon, Ocean Rain, and Third of Crowns. I think like there's really great the orchestral instruments add a lot to them.
Mm.
And for me, it just like there's a lot of like really nice imagery in the song. And as you said before, despite the lighthearted tone, like Ian's lyrics have always been kind of like cryptic and like hard to like decipher, but they're still very
Mm.
pretty. And he comes up with like a lot of neat
Mm.
imagery and just kind of like the all the words in the song kind of like paint an image just for me of like kind of like an 1800s kind of town and like kind of like medieval-ish
Mm. Yeah.
like aura
Yeah.
for me. But what do you think of Nocturnal Emma?
Ooh, well, firstly, I'll say that this is like surely one of my favorite songs in the album. Like
Mm-hmm.
along
Yep.
with yeah, yeah, with like Seven Seas, Ocean Rain, and Silver, Killing Moon. Um, I like how it's got an intense sounding violin for like a good chunk of the song till like it reaches around the chorus where Ian's singing kind of takes over and sort of brings down the level for a moment and with it being surreal yet I guess probably tranquil. Um, yeah, when it kicks back up and the when the bridge comes around it you know switches the mood around a bit. So yeah, I like it a lot. Um,
That's a fair assessment. Don't worry. If you can think of anything else, feel free. Um, I did this goes for a lot of the album too, but I think even though they're more in the background, Les and Pete on drums, they're a great rhythm section. They like carry. They remind me a little bit as of like the Doors, as in like even if like Ian kind of like flutters a little bit, the other musicians always like keep them steady and like they always keep the groove of the song, and they're
mm,
just like a really good unit together. And that this song's an example of this. And I think I said it before, but the all like the violins and like all the other like string instruments, like the violas and
yeah.
the I'm not a classical musician, so I don't really know a ton of other instruments, but like all those instruments, they make the song like more epic feeling, and it's a nice up and down. Uh, I think it's
Mm.
everything we were gonna say about that one. You have anything else?
Um, I
Really dig it?
think that's yeah, love it a lot. My favorite, one of
Okay,
my
fair enough.
favorites on this album. Yeah.
I wasn't like dreading listening to this next song, but it was the one that I didn't remember the most. So that's Yo Yo Man, and listening to it, it fits in perfectly with this album. I thought it's like it's the little brush kind of like strokes that Pete does on the drums. They're really like noticeable here, especially, and it's a nice, really kind of like cool vibe. And I like Will's guitars are more subtle, kind of like little kind of like flares under like all the other instruments, but they're a
Mm,
nice touch. And then there's a really kind of like nice swing beat, like da 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 da, like kind of like
yeah.
very sea shanty-ish and kind of like really cool. Very it kind of like evocative of like the sea a little bit, kind of
Mm.
like hence like all the like the album title and like the art and everything. It feels very like something you'd like sing on a boat or something. I thought one thing I didn't notice the first time I heard this song a while ago was that there's a really kind of like nice instrumental break around 135 with these like chimey kind of like sounding instruments, and it doesn't last very long. It's only about 20 seconds, but it's really nice, I thought. And some other things that are kind of like hard to notice but are really nice in the mix are that there's a really nice like piano background instruments, and then
Mm.
the reed instruments too that are really kind of like nice and add to the sound, I think.
Oh yeah.
You want to say some thoughts, Emma?
Um, yeah. This is Yo Yo Man. It's a really vivid sounding song for me. I think it's another track with like a highly energetic amount of violin included in most parts of the song.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like how it slows down, like again throughout the chorus, and then switching back, the mood back and forth, kind of like how you said, almost like a yo-yo, I guess.
Yeah, that's a
Um, yeah.
good title.
hmm Not too sure on the lyrics for this one. It's a little bit tricky to kind of figure out, but kind of creates like a bunch of imagery in your head, sort of, when you're listening to it, at least for me.
Yeah, yeah, I have the same kind of like thoughts when I listen to like New Order a lot of the time. Sometimes there's stories, but I always think like I don't know what he's singing, but it sounds nice and I like it and goes with the instrument, so that's all fine by me.
Yeah,
Um, Next we got Thorn of Crowns, which when I was listening to it today, I realized it might be my favorite Bunnymen song right now. I used to be Seven
really.
Seas, which probably is a good second, but I really really love this song a lot. Just it sounds something about it sounds like unique compared to the rest of the songs, and I love like the highs and lows of the song. And I thought it was like a wonderful highlight of Will's guitar playing and like Ian's vocals. They just
Mm-hmm.
go like they're just a really great combination for each other. And Les's bass underneath is really like steady and it like keeps everything moving. And Ian's kind of like rambly vocals kind of reminds me of like Bob Dylan a little bit. And I like the fake ending like around like the 3 minute mark, and it lets you like think, oh, is it ending yet or is it not?
Yeah.
Kind of like I always like those in like bands I enjoy because I feel like it'll frustrate people that are like don't like the band because they're like, is it over yet? And then it's not. Um, but yeah, like I said, Will's guitar playing is really great here. Like he he doesn't like play too much over Ian, and then he complements like his quiet moments nicely, and then when it kind of like swells up, it
Mm.
just like a really nice compliment to it. Um, I said this before with when we did like another take of a podcast episode, but in case we have like any overlapping thoughts, I'm sorry. Sometimes we don't have anything else to add when the other person says something. But yeah, do you have any thoughts on this song, Emma?
Well, for sure, this one stands out quite the most on the album. Obviously, it's a very wild and ferocious sounding track here. Like, every time I play it, I feel like I'm still like I always get surprised at how rambunctious and like crazy sounding it is.
Mm-hmm.
With Ian shouting the way he does in it. But it is like always a fresh kind of experience listening to it. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
for sure. I really like kind
hmm
of like the reverb whenever like Ian yells it, like it kind of like echoes
Yeah.
on it. Pretty pretty cool. Uh, and then I guess we don't really need to talk about like this one too much. But the Killing Moon, really great song, probably the most well
Mhm.
known. It's in like a ton of like different media and stuff like that, but for good
Yeah.
reason. It's a really great song. Ian like gives like a really great like lyrical kind of like performance and vocals, and Will's guitar is great. It's really like kind of like spacey and atmospheric,
Mhm.
and I think the Killing Moon is a great title for it because it's very like kind of like spacey feeling and like kind of like atmospheric, kind of like it's probably it's interesting that a song like the Killing Moon and then Seven Seas are right beside each other because they're kind of like contrasting emotions a little bit. But I think that's one of the things that make this album like really really nice. Like it's a kind of a as much as I like their first like couple albums, like there's not a huge variety of mood. It's very kind of like dark throughout and like kind of like spastic and very like the
Yeah.
energy is the same. But like this album, it's you have like nice ups and downs and like you have a bunch of different kind of like vibes whatever you're feeling, so you can put on different songs. And one thing I noticed when I was looking at the track listing is I like how they space out the singles in this album, like towards the top half and then towards like the bottom half too. So it's I think even in albums I like a lot, like all the singles, like they're maybe it's like three or four. They're usually all in like the first half of the album. So sometimes if someone isn't a giant fan of the band, they don't have something to like look forward to, or they're not like like trying to like think, oh, this is coming up. And I think it's a good thing to like put like singles like the first half and the bottom half, because if someone's like listening through, they'll like give other songs a chance rather than just kind of like get bored and like not having anything to look forward to. So I thought that was
Mhm.
clever of them. And I don't know if it was the band's choice or if it was the label's choice, but whoever it was, I thought it was a good idea. um but yeah, really, it's probably I can see why this song's in a lot of like movies because it's really like very cinematic feeling and very very cool, and like kind of
Mhm.
like it's like a romantic vibe or if it's like a moody kind of like vibe like that. But yeah, just really really great stuff.
Oh yeah.
I think even though it's subtle too, I think less's bass line deserves a shout out. It's just really goes great with the guitar.
Mm.
Gives
Mm.
Sticks the whole song together like a nice musical sandwich. Um, What do you think, Emma? Do you have any thoughts on the Killing Moon? I know it's
Uh,
probably hard to talk about the song just because like it's like kind of a really essential kind of like post punky song and like really big.
well, even though it's like a widely popular song with the Bunnymen, like, and the song that pretty much, if anyone like knew Echo and the Bunnymen, they would know this song.
Yeah,
I
probably.
really like it a lot. That's probably guess one of my favorites by them too. So, yeah, I really like the kind of dark, sad kind of mood to it, you know? It's
Hmm
also kind of mysterious too, a bit in a way, just with how Ian did the lyrics, you know?
Yeah, and I think one thing that's good about Ian's like vocals here is that he doesn't like over sing it. I think a lot of people whenever I see like covers of the song they forget that the subtlety is a good thing. Like they just like go really really into it. But like Ian like has this like nice like middle ground of like just keeping like being
Yeah,
passionate. He needs to and being quiet. I think some singers they mistakenly think that just being passionate all the time and like being kind of like really like a lot of ahs and kind of like stuff like that is like makes it a good song. But you can have different kind of like moods, and I think Ian does a good job of that
yeah.
here. So
Hmm.
yeah, great stuff. Next is Seven Seas, which is probably it's a really funny pick. It used to be my favorite Bunnyman song for a long time. And it's still probably in my like top three. But it's just like a funny song in the discography because it's a lot more like warm and like lighthearted. It's a lot like Bring on the Dancing Horses and like stuff like that. Just kind of like has a very like warm kind of like poppy tone, which is a really good thing. I like the guitar in it. I love like Ian's romantic vocals, and again, it's a very like um it kind of like evokes images of like the sea and like kind of like probably is like they maybe built on experiences that they like from Liverpool and like just being by a seaside town, I'd imagine. So great stuff. What do you think, Emma?
Hmm. I think this is like another, like you said, the different kind of um different sort of feel compared to their other songs. Like another happy, uplifting song on this album in particular. It's got a nice, refreshing guitar melody, some nice combinations. Also, like the lyrics do a huge part in making the song sound really elegant again and very gorgeous sounding. Another thing, like kind of related as well, I like the music video a lot too.
It's very fun. The Bunny Men have a lot of really kind of like cool music videos. I think they
Yeah.
kind of did, but I think after about like 84, 85, they really started like embracing them and
Mm,
like bringing the dancing horses is really great. This one's great. I
mm,
like one for the Killing Moon. Lips Like Sugar and like Bedbugs and Ballyhoos from like their other albums
yeah.
really cool and
Mm,
creative too. Um, I
yeah.
think maybe because they were like clinging to like that artsy kind of like band vibe, and they were like, I don't know if I want to do music videos. It's a little like little cliche, and like, but it's cool that they embrace it, and they just kind of like weren't afraid
Mhm.
of looking like goofy with their music videos. But yeah, this one's yeah, you're right. The '70s video is really fun, and they dress up in a bunch of different costumes, and they have like this big map of like everywhere they're going. And I
Mm,
think unlike some of the other songs in the album, this song kind of like has like a more even though it has cryptic lyrics, it's to me it's like may has like a romantic feeling, and it's about kind of like just wanting to like adventure and like see different parts of the world, and just very like nice. It's very I feel like
mhm.
it's almost like one of the like more like kid friendly or more like everyone can enjoy kind of songs to like the simple
Yeah.
premise.
Mhm.
Anything else on that?
That's about it for me.
Alrighty, yeah, good stuff. Next we got My Kingdom, which I kind of
Mhm.
struggled to like find stuff to talk about because it's just like it's a great song, but there's not. It's very like I don't know, just like fits in perfectly. It's very like middle of the road a little bit, but still really great. I thought it had some like a great intro. I couldn't tell what that instrument is, whether it's. I tried to look it up, but I couldn't find it. I can't tell whether it's an organ or like an accordion. I think it's one of the two, maybe. But whatever it is, that like beginning instrumental is like really nice.
Mhm.
I thought the acoustic guitar by Will is like really nice and kind of like a very like campfire kind of sounding. It's very warm and like very pleasant, and um, yeah, just really cool song. I like it. I think I was gonna try and like think of something to like um talk about like the story and the lyrics, but I can't really. I'm not too sure. It's maybe just maybe he's talking about like kings and queens a little bit and that kind of thing, or he could be talking about something else. What do you think, Evan? Do you have anything to add?
I like the guitar riffs that, come up occasionally throughout the
Oh
song.
yeah, I forgot to say that. Yeah, yeah, the guitarists were like yeah, it's really
Yeah,
catchy,
yeah, yeah.
like Silver and stuff.
hmm it's a pretty catchy song overall. Um, but honestly, like I think it's an okay song. Like it's not, it's decent, but it's not like it's great, but it's not. I'd say one of my, favorite songs from
That's fair.
them, I guess.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
Um, I was just thinking when I was talking about it earlier. I think maybe Never Stop would be a nice fit here rather than like My Kingdom. Maybe add both of them because they're both solid
hmm
songs. But I think that might like fit better right after like kind of like Seven Seas and stuff like that. But still really good. I think any band would like be happy to have written a song like this. So um,
Yeah.
just in comparison of all the other songs, it's kind of like just like middle of the road. Still good, but not like fantastic or anything. Um,
Mm.
and then closing out the album, we got Ocean Rain, which is a wonderful song. In like he's just a heartthrob on it. He gives us like wonderful like croony vocals and very beautiful stuff. Very
Mm.
like I said with a lot of the other songs, very um sea based, and you can imagine like a sailor like coming home from like a long night in the dark and like just seeing all those like dark and kind of like moody like scenery and stuff like that.
Mm.
Um, really like nice brush kind of like strokes again by Pete on the drums and uh, Will's like slow building guitar is really nice and yeah, really beautiful stuff. What do you think, Emma?
Oh, well, I agree with you. It is a very, very, very beautiful song. If anything, like one of their most like beautiful things that they ever put out. Um, I like how like when Ian starts to sing the song in the beginning, he does it very slowly, sort of. Um, I can almost like slowly create a visual of what he's trying to explain in my head.
It helps with the storytelling.
Yeah, yeah. It's also like a very good match with the album cover as well, in terms of like the sound and the lyrics and the slow pace of the track and like the calmness of Ian's voice. It all goes really well with like all the, like on the album cover, all the members like slowly sailing along like a dark bluish ocean.
For sure.
So, yeah, really nice, really, really pretty song.
Um, I think we did this with Depeche Mode too. So before we end it, is there any other like Bunnymen songs you really like that you maybe would want to recommend to people?
Ooh. Well, for a while, Bedbugs and Ballet has been my favorite for a really long time, so definitely recommend that for sure. Um, what
That song,
else?
I can see it coming after this album. Like just with like I think they kind of use them for the rest of their career, but like there's like a little like brush kind of like lightly. There's like light drumming things that Pete uses. They
Hmm.
like show up in Bedbugs and Ballyhoo too, and also just let Les gives another great bass line. It's very funky and cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Anything else?
Um,
Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot here.
no,
Is
that's
it
okay.
hard for Emma? Pretty big fan of the band, but I think she needs to like listen to more of the stuff. So
Yeah. I mean, I have like a handful of favorites. I also like um with the Hip from their Heaven Up
really good
Here
one.
album. Really like fast paced and energetic, and like that
Yeah,
stuff. Really
Will
good.
does great in guitar in that one. It's just like I'm
Yeah,
impressed with his pace when that he can keep it up when he.
yeah.
Well, those are some good favorites. I'll see if I can think of any. I like the Puppet from it's like a single from their early career that I really dig. A lot of the stuff on Heaven Up Here and like Crocodiles are really close to me. So like I like a Pride, which is the third song I believe. On their first album, I like Read in Books, Villiers Terrace, stuff like that.
hmm
Um, from the second album, I really like Show of Strength. That's another favorite of mine. A Promise. Um, there's a really kind of like slow building song with some like cool like synths or like kind of like foot pedals called um, All My Colors that I really dig. Oh, sorry, Over the Wall. Messed up. All My Colors is a good song too,
hmm
though. And yeah, I'm still not super familiar with Porcupine, But from that, I'm like in Bluer Skies,
Ooh.
which is kind of like a really kind of like nice ending song. The Cutter and the Back of Love are really great too.
Mm,
And I like
mm,
Gods Will
mm,
Be Gods. And we just covered this album, so but like I said, Throne of Crowns, Seven Seas, really dig those a lot. And then from their self-titled album, I really like Bit of Book and Ballet, who's really good. Bombers Bay, Lips Like Sugar, and Over You
mm.
are really really good good tracks. I
Ooh.
was gonna say before I forget, I'm glad I remembered. There's a really great performance of them doing songs from this album on the Tube. They do The Killing Moon, Nocturnal Me, and Ocean Rain. And it's just really great performances. So I'll see if I can link that in the description. There's a channel on YouTube called Nacho Video. He's really really great. I think he does a really great job like editing different videos. He does like a bunch of like kind of like cool 70s and 80s bands like David Bowie, the Bunnymen, like New Order, stuff like that. So if it's he just like upscales into like HD, and he there's another really good performance of the Puppet from like a music video compilation that he has in there too. So I'll see if I can link that in the description. And then one other thing me and Emma were trying to do before we like after we end segments as like a fun kind of thing was we would give like music recommendations. So since Emma did it on, I think we were going to do an OMG podcast, but I lost the audio somewhere. So you were going to recommend, I think, Wolfsheim, right? There's an album by Wolfsheim that you really like.
Yes, it was their album called No Happy View, which is like my basically my favorite album by them.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. Well, what do you like about them in a few short words? Like, if you were to like give an elevator pitch for like why someone should listen to them.
Well, I think they're very similar to Depeche Mode in a way because they kind of have like the same dark kind of feel to them. Really, they use a lot of synths in their stuff too. I like that a lot, and yeah, they're they're yeah really upbeat with their songs, but at the same time like sometimes romantic or like dark lyrics. So I like that a lot.
Gotcha.
Yep.
I might. I was gonna recommend another album by a band called Gene, that I've been kind of into
Mm,
lately. And they're a very like underrated like English band that's very similar to the Smiths. But I think I'll do Murmur by R.E.M. from 1983 that I really really dig.
mm,
And I've been listening to them the last few months, and I've been like showing them like different videos and like music, so I've been like talking
mm,
your ear off about it. But yeah, Murmur from R.E.M. I just kind of like, got into them the last like little while, probably like the last like month or two, and they have a great discography like REM, and I don't know why I like didn't get into before. I think just because they didn't like fashion wise and like maybe like the 90s stuff didn't really grab me right away. But I
mm,
love like Peter Buck's guitar in it. I love Michael's kind of cryptic lyrics, and like they're just like their mix. It's kind of like a weird mix because I don't really like combinations of like country and rock, but they do it really well. And they have a great drummer, great bass player. Um, and yeah, just really really great album. I would say also Reckoning by them is really good, and
mm,
Fables of the Reconstruction. Those are probably my two other favorites. But Automatic for the People is really good from 1991, and then Out of Time, like a bunch of other stuff. So
mm.
yeah, so I think that's everything. So thanks for joining us, guys. Hopefully, I'll try and upload this as soon as possible. And thanks for listening, and we love you. Bye bye.